Recording and streaming has been started.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Council for Strategic Affairs. Today is Saturday, June 28th, 2025. It's 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here in US and 7:30 p.m. in India. Usually, we have a distinguished lecture as our second monthly event, but today we are going to have a roundtable discussion. So this is the flyer you people probably saw, and topic of the discussion is ongoing war in West Asia, geopolitical and geo-economic implications. We have a wonderful panel of distinguished experts that I'll be introducing. A little bit about Council. Council imparts education in the field of international relations. It fosters discussion, dialogue, and debate on geopolitical issues. We encourage strategic studies in general to raise the level of awareness. Council condemns terrorism in all forms worldwide. We aim to contribute towards world peace and prosperity. CSA promotes people-to-people contact and track to diplomacy. Please subscribe, like, and share our CSA YouTube channel as we are being live streamed. We are registered as a 501c3 organization with the IRS in the US. Our US-based audience kindly support and donate to CSA. We do a monthly roundtable discussion on second Saturday of each month and a distinguished lecture by a domain expert on fourth Saturday of each month. We organize symposia, meetings, conferences. We publish articles on geopolitics and related subjects. We do have a summer internship program for college students and fellowship training program in strategic studies. Currently, we have 2 training fellows. So let me come to the experts. I will not give detailed introduction. Our first expert is Vice Admiral Shekhar Sinha. He is a naval aviator, retired naval aviator who has held very important posts. He is currently affiliated with a number of think tanks, including India Foundation and Indian Council for World Affairs. He is a public speaker, teacher, trainer, everything combined. Our second expert panelist is Major General Sanjay Soy. Major General Sanjay Soy is a retired Navy officer. After superannuation, he is president of the Advisory Council of Exemplar Linkers Foundation and a member of Advisory Board of International Institute of Influencers in Oman. Again, he is a defense expert with various media groups, regularly comes on TV channels, etc., on international relations and defense-related matters. Then we have Commodore R. Seshadri Vasan, who is not stranger to this platform. He has appeared on this platform on multiple occasions. He is a retired naval officer and also the Director General of the Chennai Center for China Studies. And I'm very pleased to say that Commodore Vasan is a member of the International Advisory Board of the Council for Strategic Affairs. Our next expert panelist is Mr. Amod Desai, who is a Beltway cyber guru and also a member of the board of directors of the CSA. And last but not the least, we have Mr. Ankush Bhandari. Ankush is an author, public speaker who has written more than 100 articles. He has more than 24 years of experience in IT industry. And I'm very pleased to say that he is also a member of the board of directors of the CSA. Coming to the topic today, ongoing war in West Asia, geopolitical and geo-economic impact or implications. There's a never-ending war going in the so-called WANA region. and it depends upon what cutoff date one chooses. WANA basically stands for West Asia and North Africa, so-called Middle East, but geographically it's much more accurate West Asia. The latest problem started around October 7, 2023, when Hamas attacked Israel, followed by Israel attacks in Lebanon, Yemen, and also in Syria against the ISIS government led by Ahmad al-Shara. Iran-Israel war began on June 13, 2025, when Israel attacked targets at more than a dozen locations across Iran. And the most recent major attack by United States against Iran occurred on June 22nd, 2025, as part of larger Iran-Israel war. So depends what date you consider. This region has been full of war. And just for sake of grounding, this is the map of the West Asia. Again, a map of the West Asia with political maps and cities. Before I hand over it to the panelists, keep yourself mute. Keep your cell phone on vibration mode. When our panelists are speaking, please do not interrupt them. All the questions are moderated through the chat room. Send your questions to chat room. Don't send lengthy comments. It has to be a very precise question. The program is being live streamed on our YouTube channel, and it will be available on our website later on. Please like, share, and subscribe CSA YouTube channel. Our US-based audience, kindly donate to CSA so that we can continue to do our work. Now it's my pleasure to start inviting our distinguished panelists. Each panelist will speak for 5 minutes opening statement. This would be followed by Q&A. We intend to wrap up within 60 minutes, hopefully. So I will invite our first panelist, Vice Admiral Shekhar Sinha. Admiral Sinha, sir, the platform is yours. Kindly make your opening statement.
Namaskar, Jai Hind, good morning, good evening. Thank you, Dr. Adityanjee, for inviting me. I'm glad to be coming to your forum, second or third time, I think. But before I start anything, let me just read out one couplet. Guru Govind do khade kako lagu paye. Balihari Guru aapne jin Govindiyo sikhaye. And my guru here is Commodore Vasan, who actually launched me into strategic thinking while he was the senior directing staff at the College of Naval Warfare and I was a student. So thank you very much, sir. And it's really an honor to be with you on the panel. Okay, let me say, in the war which is going on, which Adityaji rightly pointed out, there are no winners in this war. And it's a never-ending war. You can kill Hamas, you can kill Hezbollah, you can kill Houthis, but you can't kill the ideology. This is an ideological war. Every time you kill certain people, they will have a new leader. As you saw, which happened in Hezbollah, it happened also in the IRGC. One man killed and the chief was appointed. So this is an ongoing issue. And I think in overall geopolitical sense, the world has entered a new period of turbulence and changes. And it will continue for some time, till such time the world order settles down in a new format. What will be the world order? Is certainly not going to be unipolar headed by US, certainly not going to be bipolar, on the other pole being China. But China does not take the initiative to take any leadership. It always wants to act at the low key. So I would say that what has happened, the losses which have taken place, it's okay for a tactical war, but strategically, to be honest, nobody has won. Here, China is keeping quiet. It made a very muted statement that it does not support any kind of war. It is whereas Russia has made a very strong statement. Now it is understandable why China has made this statement, because China sees an opportunity for itself with the US withdrawing from this area and its weapons being tried by the Iranians. All the missiles being fired are mostly that of Chinese origin. And it cannot say very much to Israel because it is taking a lot of technology and reverse engineering to use that. The only fortunate part is that Israel and Iran are not contiguous. They are 1,500 kilometers away. Otherwise, life could have been even more difficult with the boots on ground. So I would say that no one in the world is commanding the respect who can bring the war to halt. All multilateral organizations have become defunct, starting with UN. The first organization which should be wound up immediately is the United Nations Security Council. You look at Ukraine and Russia conflict, all 5 countries are fighting. Russia is fighting, supported by China, and Ukraine is being supported by America, Great Britain, France. So the West is fighting along with the Eastern powers. So they are the ones who are supposed to prevent war. So where is the UNSC? I think it's all defunct. And when our foreign minister says so, he means business. So within the last, I would say that in the 4 continents, at least I can see some kind of regional leadership emerging. 4 different poles are emerging, maybe 5, but certainly it's not going to be unipolar and bipolar world. Wars are no longer, declared these days. They just happen, and it sinks into your head. So I would say that we have to be careful. India should be careful because none of the wars, they're all grey war. Earlier, we thought only Navy fights a grey war, but here I find countries are fighting in, total grey warfare. Civilians are being targeted. It wasn't so in the past. It was between the armies, with armed forces. I'll stop here because I've taken 5 minutes already. Maybe, we'll come back later.
Thank you very much indeed, Admiral Sinha, for your opening statement. Now it's my honor and pleasure to invite Major General Sanjay Soy, who brings a different dimension to this discussion with an army background. Major General Sanjay Soy, please.
Yes.
Sir, please unmute yourself.
Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Adityanjee, for the invitation. It's actually a matter of honor to be part of this panel discussion with such distinguished speakers. And in fact, what you have brought out initially in the opening address is that this problem is historic at different level. I mean, since Ottoman Empire and before that, we have been seeing the kind of warfare which has been going on. And I think since my childhood, I've never seen this area peaceful, whether it is Europe or Southeast Asia or Australia, all other continents have been peaceful, except this West Asian region has always been in turmoil because of some reason or the other, whether it is a religious reason, whether it is a interference by the big superpowers initially between America and Russia, and then now the China had also joined in too, because China was spreading its influence in Africa and West Asia. So naturally, the interest basically remains because of oil. If the West Asia was growing only potatoes, probably nobody would have gone there. It is the oil and the location which controls the other. In fact, because the closeness to Russia also, it has a impact. Now, basically, what we saw in the war, I'll not go into this. Vice Admiral Shekhar Sinha and Dr. Adityanjee has brought out how this present conflict started. So I'll not go into that. I'll just bring out what happens after this. Like after the ceasefire has been announced, few facts which have emerged is that there is a controversy how much nuclear potential of Iran has been destroyed. Iran now says they have not been able to destroy fully. In US also, some channels and DIA had also brought out that they have not been destroyed fully. And but one thing is for sure, as far as my personal views are concerned, that sufficient damage has been done. It has been put back by some time, few months, years, probably it can't be few months, because the number of scientists which have been killed and the infrastructure which has been destroyed, even the Iran would have moved some element, say some centrifuges, fuses, or enriched uranium to somewhere else, as some reports say. But can it move the rest of the infrastructure? Because if the rest of the infrastructure also gets destroyed, what will they do with the enriched uranium, or with the centrifuges? And their launch system, do they still have the capability to launch nuclear weapon on some other country? So these things remain, but one thing has come out very clearly after the statements by Ayatollah Khomeini, that they will continue with the nuclear program, and they are also now distancing itself with IAEA, so that no outside inspections can be done. So nobody would know how much damage has been done, how far behind Iran is, and Iran would like to keep it sort of a situation of ambiguity, so that nobody is able to guess. And we know that the main issue was that nobody wanted Iran to become a nuclear power, because if Iran becomes nuclear power, the whole power dynamics in the Middle East or West Asia would have changed, and any nuclear power becomes a big deterrent. So they have made earlier efforts also by using the virus Stuxnet, which had put their nuclear program behind by a few years. Then earlier also they've been killing some scientists. So some efforts or something or the other has always been going on. Now it was probably the time when they realized that the Iran had reached very close to the making nuclear weapons. Second thing was that the way Iran has been troubling Israel through Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthi. So early, they have been able to, Israel over a period of time since October 23 has been able to almost neutralize, not fully, but almost neutralize the Hamas and Hezbollah, and they've been jointly with USA have been able to cause extensive damage to Houthi. So what Vice Admiral Shekhar Sinha brought out, that we cannot kill the ideology. They have been suppressed for some time. For how long they have been suppressed, for how long the peace will remain, that remains questionable. But the fact is that they have not interfered. Hezbollah has not interfered in this operation. It shows that a major damage because of killing or their leadership right up to the middle level leadership, and probably the weapon systems or rocket systems have been caused, in spite of number of claims that they have couple of lakhs of rockets, but nothing actually happened. That was very surprising. I thought that since Iran had been bringing them up for such a long time, so now they will do at least something to support Iran. Though Houthi tried to do something, but nothing major happened because of the distance also and the limited launch capabilities they have. The US is also with Israel, so not much damage have been done. And when we talk, so these things remain. That this thing remains uncertain at the moment. For how long will this ceasefire last? How long will Iran take to rebuild itself with the military capability? Because this operation has definitely created a big dent in Iran. Biggest issue, as you had also brought up, Dr. Adityanjee, the distance between the two countries, about 1500 to 1800 kilometers. So Iran does not have a viable air force. They dependent on rocket force and missiles. So they, as long as Israel was able to dominate the skies, and then later on US also joined, it becomes a big challenge for them to continue with the operations.
Sir, please
Last
conclude.
thing, yeah, last angle, just quickly, that who is the loser in this conflict? I feel the if the regime changes take place now, the focus would be on regime change. So if regime change takes place, then the Russia and China would be the biggest loser, because Russia would lose the last foothold in the West Asia. That's all I thought. I'll finish with this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Major General Sanjay Soy, for your lucid comments. Now it's my honor and distinct pleasure to invite Commodore R. Seshadri Vasan. Sir, Commodore Vasan,
Yeah.
Kindly turn
Thank you
your.
very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Adityanjee. And always a pleasure and honored to be part of your dialogue. And you've been doing a wonderful job. And I must compliment you and the entire CSA staff. I think the previous two distinguished speakers have set the tone. Drawing references to the fact that ideology is something that is inseparable from the area that we are talking about. You want to call it MENA, you want to call it WANA, doesn't matter. Geography doesn't change. But the fact is that ideology is what will drive the divides or unifications in this area. The two maps that you showed earlier in the opening remarks are of great relevance because that tells you the importance of this place. And it did not start today. It started when the colonial powers left. And more importantly, the reference should be to Carter's doctrine. It was all about oil. Because from that time onwards, US has remained a dominant power and it's not going to withdraw easily. Today we are looking at some 19 or 20 bases that they have with 40 to 45,000 boots on the ground. With phenomenal amount of infrastructure, air bases, Bahrain, which is supporting the fleet. So, this is the kind of investment that they've made, which started with the Carter's doctrines to protect the oil outflow, and they wanted to control it. Though US today has become oil independent, it does not want to lose control of the area, which explains why even today Trump is so interested with Iran, with Iraq, with Syria, with Yemen, and every geography which is there. So, notwithstanding the Shia Sunni divide which is there, which will continue forever, so this conquest of the area is something that is of importance to India. I need to concentrate a little more on how it's going to affect us as India, because that is important for us as strategists to analyze. So it's all driven by oil economy. If you are looking at the Straits of Hormuz as the critical artery of energy supply, the threats that were there to say we will close down Straits of Hormuz would have impacted us seriously. So we should be thankful that there's a temporary truce. But if India being dependent on oil to such a large extent, so is China. The stability and security of the Straits of Hormuz is important. We'll also remember in one of our earlier discussions, we discussed IMEC. The IMEC has not happened. The present situation is not allowing IMEC to take off. It should have given you a certain amount of alternate areas which is there. So, there are some key factors which are here, which are related to the so-called global war on terror which started post 9/11, because of which US came in a big way. Thereafter, you're looking at the energy security, which is an ongoing, continuing process since the Carter's doctrine. Then there's a nuclear dimension because of the Iran factor. So Israel is an undeclared nuclear state, but nobody is going to rein them in. They feel that Israel is more responsible than Iran, but Iran needs to be contained. So there are different arguments here to say perhaps a possession of nuclear weapon by Iran will bring stability to the area. That's debatable, of course. But however, these are counterpoints and points of view which are there, which drive the geopolitics of the nation. So we are definitely affected by what happens there. We have maximum remittances in India from the Gulf workers who are there, at different levels. So all this is going to be affected if there is continuation of the hostilities between any power, Iran, Iraq, Israel, Iraq, Gaza, wherever you see, it's going to affect India in a big way. We are now the fastest growing economy, but the dependence on dollar, which has already gone to about 86 or $87, our export import mechanisms will be seriously affected, which is where we need to be very worried about the developments out there. So we need to worry about our diversification of our energy dependence to other countries which are there. So so that in future we are not held captive to the kind of pressure tactics that are applied indirectly. You saw just yesterday, day before, that China has stopped supply of some of the boring machines for our railways, though they are manufactured in Germany. And likewise, now they applied pressure on fertilizers. So, this is the kind of pressure that India will be subjected to. There are no friends as far as India is concerned. All these relations that we claim are working are transactional in nature. And we need to be conscious of this fact and look at alternatives which are going to secure our future as the fastest growing economy, as an aspiring regional superpower, not necessarily the superpower, but more in terms of providing stability, security, and developmental dimensions to our neighbors here. So this is where we need to worry about. So maybe in the second round, we'll talk about what are the other options that are there for India perhaps to diversify the supply chain, demands which are there, and the limitations that there are in our diversification, the linkages to the dollar which is still dominant, and also the kind of turbulent neighborhood that is there with the three-front war that we have to prepare for, with Bangladesh also falling apart from us post the stir of Sheikh Hasina. So I will stop here and come back later as and when there are Q&As and maybe the second round. Thank you.
Thank you, Commodore Vasan, for your wide ranging discussion on events and issues pertaining to India's situation as a corollary to this war. Now, my honor to invite Mr. Amod Desai, who is a member of the board of directors of CSA. So, Amod ji, the platform is yours. Please confine to 5 minutes in your succinct comments.
Yeah, maybe lesser than that. Good morning, everyone. It's my honor to be here with all the esteemed panelists, as well as with Dr. Adityanjee. And today's topic is really very interesting. If you look from the point of view, it's more attached towards the socioeconomic aspect of the Arab world, or you can say the Middle East, what we normally say, right? But the real problem here is the self-determination, or you can say the adamant attitude of the Palestine as a group of people who are Arabs in their who are really Arabs, but they do not want to stay with Israel in a cohesive way. Now, how does this all started? This all started way back 2000 years ago, when the trade route was established between the Europe and then, of course, the eastern part of the world, where the importance of being the two seas meeting together in that Egypt area, that really propelled into the enormous trade between the two continents. As we go further down in 1879, rather, I'll correct myself, in 1869, that's when the Suez Canal was created, or you can say it was built from breaking about 200 or 120 miles of stretch of land, connecting the Mediterranean Sea with the rest of the world. So if you look at the socioeconomic part of the growth of that area, it propelled the economic success across the Middle East, because they were the transit authority. Now, come the First World War, where Britishers were dominant force across the globe, and the Britishers really created this, I will not say mess, but they helped the Israelis to build their self-determine themselves and reclaim their old heritage land of Jerusalem and Judaism. And that's where the real genesis of the conflict began, where in 1920, I'm saying 105 years ago, 1920, that's when the Balfour Agreement or Declaration was done by the Britishers, saying that Israel has a right to self-determine themselves in this area, in this location, and establish Jerusalem as their key land, or promised land. But it didn't materialize till 1948, when Israel really declared the independence. So the reason why Britishers had to do this, again, is socioeconomic. It's mostly economic in nature, where it enhances the supply chain of the modern world. After the industrialization, the modern world really needed a supply chain connecting India as a big market with the Europe, and vice versa. Oil was not found at that time. If you look at it in Arab world, if you just go back in the history, when the discovery of oil, it just kind of propelled this area into a larger economic hub. So why I have said all these things, it just gives you the understanding about why there is a need of grabbing that piece of land, that piece of real estate, that is Israel right now. why they're fighting. Israel is really fighting for their civilization, their own existence, and their own self-determination, and which is really a just war. They have been fighting for so many years or millennia, I would say. Palestine, if you go back in the history, there's nothing like Palestine. They are, as of when I started, they are basically an Arab in our world, in our part of South Asia, or you can say Indian continent, subcontinent. We can always say there is a caste within the whole structure, right? So, or structure of society. Palestine can be a caste within a whole Arab world society because there was never a Palestine land as such. They were part of Syria and they were called Philistines, who were normal beings across in that area, spread across the whole part of the Middle East. So from that point of view, again, the advent of Palestine Liberation Force, this problem was again created to keep this area boiling all the time. Arafat was installed to carry that Palestine flag.
Can you
That's
conclude,
really the
please?
source. That's really the source of our problem, right? And when you look forward, really when a society addresses that particular problem, is when you will be able to really solve this this issue about Israel and Palestine and the Iranians helping and abating them. So thanks a lot, Adityanjee, for letting me know. Time is up.
Thank you, Amod.
Mhm.
Now it's my honor and pleasure to invite Mr. Ankush Bhandari. Ankush is also a member of the board of directors of CSA. Ankush, please turn your camera on.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay. Namaste, everyone. And thank you, Adityanjee, and all the honorable panelists who are here. I heard everybody, I am the last one, so it gives me a sense what do I summarize what everybody has left. We mentioned from the history, from ideology to the Iran losses and to the oil economy. But I think all my honorable panelists forgot to mention one thing. Iran was once the sweetheart of America. In 1953, when President Eisenhower stand in the United Nations General Assembly on December 8, 1953, and said, "I want atom for peace." That was the American strategy against Soviet Union. Iran was the first to be given atom for peace. So it was America who has given Iran nuclear technology for the peaceful purposes. Because they said we want to share the technology, we want to use for civilian use, we want to prevent the nuclear proliferation, and Iran, being the sweetheart of the US at that time, was given that. Now, moving forward, couple of years, like 20, 25 years later, when the Iranian Revolution happens, the all problems starts by them, and it is continuous till then. Now, fast forward to what happened for the 12-year war, 12 days war, which happened in the West Asia. U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete as well as other people have said that we have used the bunker buster bombs mainly on the three sites, Fordo, Natan, and Isfahan, right? And they said they were very successful. The images from the satellites shows one picture, the comments from different experts and the organization tells another picture over here. But unless and until the complete analysis is not done, how much it has hampered, nothing can be said as of now. So that's my personal opinion here, that it's too early to come to the conclusion. So when we say that why this has happened, if we go ahead, Iran has also lost hundreds and thousands of people now, because it's a very like a hermit kingdom like North Korea. It's hard to understand what's going over there. But Israel has also suffered a lot has also suffered losses in that. Thousands of people has been killed. The Israeli media has said that at least 3,500 were hospitalized and 23 were seriously injured. That's the media which is saying. And you know that because media sometimes don't want to, create much havoc within the within the people. So it's nothing that the Iran has only losses. It's also, if you see, when Iran attacked the bases in Qatar, they have already intimated this to Qatar as well as to United States. And President Trump has openly acknowledged this and appreciated that okay, Iran's advance notice has let us know injuries on the ground. But if they have not told, or if this has not been intimated prior, you can well imagine what the situation will be today. So having said that, I know I am very close to the 5 minutes target. I will also say Iran also has a lot of influence on the 3 out of 6 choke points in the Red Seas, where there's the Suez Canal, where there's Bal al Mandab Strait. I'm sorry if I mispronounce it, and the Strait of Hormuz. And 20 to 30% ships, or the world trade, I will say, goes to three choke points, which Iran can very well choke them if required. And not only US, but the world was looking very closely to it, as many of my panelists have said that it also has impact on Indian economy, and because we are very much dependent on the oil, but also American economy, because if you see the oil prices in US has also risen up. So to conclude that, I will say that it's not only that one side loses and other gains, it's both the sides which loses. And the last point which I want to mention here is, my understanding is because the oil is going to go away in the next 20 to 30 years. That's what the reports mention everywhere. And natural gas is the next supplier which will be replacing the oil economy. Russia is the #1 producer of natural gas, followed by Iran, which is the second one. So I will say this war is not the war for oil, it's the war for the natural gas. That's my understanding. So
Thank
let's
you.
see. Yeah,
Thank you
Aditya,
very
go ahead.
much, Ankush, for your very succinct comments. So we move on to now moderated discussion phase of this program, and we'll try to stick to 60 minutes duration and not extend. So let me start with a question to Admiral Shekhar Sinha. Admiral Sinha, we all agree, and you also said that this is a never-ending war. There have been ceasefires and ceasefires announced at various points in time. Currently, there is a ceasefire which seems to be holding. Admiral Sinha, nobody has talked about the role of one person in perpetuating this escalation of war, and the name of that person is Benjamin Netanyahu. There's a lot of angst and anguish within Israel. If elections were to be held today, Benjamin Netanyahu will lose his majority, Likud majority, and will lose prime minister's position. Are Israel's interests similar to Bibi Netanyahu's interests, or he is extending the war in a manner analogous to a film that was produced by Amrit Nahata in 1974 or 75, Kissa Kursi Ka?
Well, I think it'll be very difficult to make a guess as to how the next prime minister will be. Because let's not forget, as I mentioned, that it's a war of civilizations and war of ideology. So openly, the war may stop, may be paused, but the moment the Houthi, Hezbollah, and Hamas get active, the Israelis will have no choice but to respond, and respond very heavily, very strongly. So this is the broad understanding. But you are absolutely right, Dr. Aditya, that Netanyahu has been more than hyperactive. And the reason is very much political, the domestic political scenario. He is likely to lose. And one of the reasons that, in spite of the ceasefire having been declared, he carried on pushing Iran to respond. And if Iran responded, then he would respond. But for the time being, it is paused. I would say that it is only a tactical pause. And I don't think that there's a complete unease between these two countries. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if this ceasefire is broken very soon. President Trump can keep saying that I will go and bomb Iran. He's not going to bomb Israel. He'll only threaten Israel. Because the fact remains that the Jews are running the entire economy of America. It is in their hands. So, it's a very big sort of politics, the international politics, where how far will President Trump go to support Israel? I don't know. But the fact remains that the Biden administration was supporting Israel quietly and even openly. They didn't make very much effective, statement. And there were some of very important functionaries in the Biden administration who were Jews, starting with the Secretary of State Blinken. So, and the whole State Department is full of Jews. So I would say that it is difficult to say, but if there is election, yes, Netanyahu will do everything to delay the election. Or maybe he will, seek some refuge in some other country for a little while and get out of sight. Because there are people who want to go to the extent of sort of terminating him forever. There are some very strong sort of resentment inside the country. So I don't know. I don't know how to make a guess on this. But it's certainly this election is not going to win.
Thank you, Admiral Sinha. My next question goes to Major General Soy. Major General Soy, how strongly do you consider the possibility of Iran leaving the non-proliferation treaty, just like North Korea did?
In fact, yes, it's a big challenge because they have announced in their parliament, and probably it is awaiting approval of Supreme Commander, that is Ayatollah Khomeini. Russia has criticized this. Russia wants them to remain associated with the IAEA. So the fact is that Iran, after this operation, has brought out very clearly that they will continue with the nuclear enrichment plan, and probably with the IAEA inspectors coming to the sites, it is a compromising intelligence compromise would be there. They would know, the whole world would know that where they are, where are their plants, at what stage they are. That is where they want to keep the status of ambiguity at the moment. Though probably in the no country in the Middle East also want Iran to become a super nuclear power, and probably Russia also does not want, as they have stated openly. What goes on behind the scene, we do not know. But the fact is, openly they have also brought out that Iran should remain connected with the IAEA. Both US and Israel do not want Iran to become nuclear power. So their effort would remain, and they would try their best that Iran should continue to have inspection by the IAEA. And but as at present situation, it is such a volatile thing. I do not think Iran will agree to inspection by IAEA because the type of attacks, pointed attacks on the nuclear facilities have been done. They would not like this kind of intelligence to leak further. Dr. Adityanjee.
Thank you, General Soy. I'll send next question to Commodore Vasan. Commodore Vasan, one of our audience members, Dr. Vineet Singh, is asking about regime change. And the question is, what are the realistic chances of regime change in Iran now? Do you think the strikes by America increase the probability of regime change or actually reduce them?
Well, thank you for this question. That's $1 million question. Nobody seems to know whether there would be a regime change or whether, because of the power that he's gained, he will continue. But there are a lot of internal resistance. Those of you who visited Iran will know the kind of, pent, the distrust that they have with the regime, because there's been phenomenal amount of misuse of abuse of power, and therefore, particularly the women out there have come out in large number protesting the kind of measures that are there. So there is something that's brewing, and if there's a regime change, a lot of people in Iran will be happy. Some of the neighbors will be happy. But whether it's going to happen, I think none of us are in a position to say. But as of now, all indicators are that he will continue. There will be no regime change. That is my assessment.
Thank you, Commodore Vasan. My next question goes to Mr. Amod Desai. Amodji, you talked about the history and socio-economic antecedents for the current conflict. You also traced the history of this whole region for a period of time. But if we focus on the recent history, we are seeing repeat of 2003, the US-Iraq war, for quote unquote removal of weapons of mass destruction based on intelligence, with which even General Colin Powell went to United Nations Security Council and talked about the movable biolabs and nuclear enrichment facilities and weapons of mass destruction activities of Iraq, while Iraq and its leader vehemently denied that they had any such program. And the same thing is happening with Iran, while since 2003 onwards, Ayatollah Khamenei has given a fatwa that nuclear weapons are against humanity. So how do you, justify the US attacks on Iran for quote unquote destroying Iran's nuclear weapons when they are denying that they have a weapons program? They say they have an atomic energy program, they have a uranium enrichment program as a party to NPT. They don't have a nuclear weapons program. Kindly unmute yourself. You're muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So thank you for really bringing in the Iraq equation in this. If you look at the Iraq War, 2002, 2003, when really USA kind of bulldozed themselves into Iraq, right? If you go to the President Bush 1992, that war when again the first time the Iraq War started in 1992. Really speaking, the second Bush, when he came back to the power, you can famously remember Cheney, the then Secretary of State, saying that we have an unfinished business when President Bush was elected, and that was one of their goals. So a lot of halla gulla was created that yes, Iraq has got weapons of mass destruction. Everyone knew they had no weapon grade of any uranium material or even the capability to do that. So the really speaking, the Iraq War was really to complete the unfinished business of the Bush party, I can say, But if you look at the current Iran's conflict, really the conflict is not based on the economic part of the your ideology, but really it is the dominance attitude of the Iran to control that area. Being a Shia country, they really have that superiority that okay, we are going to rule the Muslim Brotherhood. If you really compare their approach towards the war, they know they are the weaker ones. Exactly the same as what the Pakistan was. Pakistan is the weaker of the country in the region. How Pakistan started there after 1971 war of India-Pakistan, when they lost very badly. They started their tactics of cutting India through thousand.
You are digressing from the question.
Hold on, I know. So we have to give that historical comparison. So they started the tactics of cutting India to 1,000 cuts, right? Bleeding India to 1,000 cuts. Exactly on the other side of the border, you had Iran. which they adopted that particular ideology, and then they just propelled it, multiplied that into 1,000 times. In fact, going to the level where they started building in a garb of a NPA, that they will start creating. They don't need energy. They have oil, gas at so much level that they can feed their citizens for 1,000 years, not 1,000, maybe 100 years. But certainly speaking, their intention was to alienate Israel, and that approach of destroying Israel from the map, it has not been said one time. It has been said multiple times, or rather 1,000 times, and not by just one Khomeini when he started the 1979 war, but in all the periods of time, whenever there was any kind of a disturbance in that area. So the 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 policies, the programs that Iran pursued really created that level of uncertainty within the world powers, that if Iran gets a nuclear warhead, they are going to annihilate Israel no matter what. And Israel is just self-determined themselves on their of their land, of their ancient land, I would say. And really speaking, they are fighting the just war. And if you look from the Iran's point of view, they are trying to fight the war of dominance, and that's
Thank you,
where the
Mr.
difference
Desai.
is.
You have given your explanation, but that is
Yeah.
not the question I had asked.
Mhm.
My next question goes to Mr. Ankush Bhandari. Ankush, you talked about historical atoms for peace. United States also did a regime change in Iran in 1953 when they toppled an elected Iranian prime minister and installed Shah. And now there is a talk of regime change and installing Raza Pahlavi Jr. as Trump's strategy. Do you have any comments on that? You are muted, so kindly unmute yourself.
Okay, so that's the main agenda which we are hearing in the news channel and everywhere, that they want the regime change to happen, right? The thing is that if you see the history speaks it itself. Why Iran don't want to give up the nuclear weapon or nuclear program is the countries who has given the nuclear program has always suffered a lot. We can see Gaddafi. When he gave up the nuclear program, he was out within a couple of years. In 2010 or 29, there was a green revolution, or the green color revolution they started in Iran, which was failed drastically. That was also the part of the regime change. It was also done, I think, in 1983 or 84, when there was an organization in Iran who killed the Chief Justice of Iran appointed by Khomeini. So at that time also, they pushed a lot for a couple of years to make this happen till 1990. And so it has been many times. Even before that, if you see, when Iran-Iraq war was going on, Iraq attacked with the bio weapons on Iran, right? That time also, they tried to eliminate the current system and new administration they want to. So coming to your question, whether this will happen, it seems to me highly impossible, because history speaks in itself, as I said. And if they would have done, it would have been done by now, because they have almost eliminated all the top branches of official of each branch, and still Iran survived this 12 days war, and they retaliated in a very sophisticated way. Now they have as one of the panelists said, they don't have a good air force, only missile technologies they use, but they retaliated in a good way. And even Israel Prime Minister Netanyahu has said, we have postpone their or drag their nuclear program to couple of years.
Okay.
So I don't think the regime change, and moreover, as we know, their supreme commander is 86-year-old, right? So he may be also looking to replace him because of age factor. And everybody was saying that Evolutionary Guard will take over, and will it become from a religious autonomy to the dictator autonomy or the military autonomy? Time will tell. But I don't think it's feasible in the next couple of weeks or years that the regime change can happen in Iran. It's
Thank you,
highly
Mr. Bhandari. I think that is very plausible what you said. One last question, and it is from one of our audience members and somebody who is affiliated with CSA, Mr. Vijay Nilekani. There are some media reports that the Iranian military leadership may take over the governance from Islamic Guardian Council, take over the country. Any comments? And I will ask our three panelists with the military background give 30-second answer to this question, each of you, starting with Admiral Sinha.
Well, in the absence of Ayatollah had mentioned that while I am underground, my IRGC people and the army, they will run this organization. Over a period of time, there has been a lot of bonhomie between these two. Earlier, they were quite far apart. So on their own, unlikely, but with the consent of the Ayatollah, it is possible.
Thank you. Major General Soy, 30-second answer. You are muted. Kindly unmute yourself.
There are two things, quick things. Israel and America want change in the government, and whether through military or through civil revolution. But after the attack, another angle which has come in, that the people are become more anti-American, anti-Israel. Some people who were supporting the regime change, probably because of these kinds of attack on the civilian, on the a lot of things, the things have also gone in favor of Ayatollah. So at present, it does not seem a possibility. However, the age factor remains, that it may take place automatically, but I feel the religious leadership will continue in some time to come. Dr. Adityanjee.
Commodore Vasan, 30-second answer to this question from Mr. Nilekani. Kindly unmute yourself.
Yeah, I think there's not much I can add to this, except to say that the succession plans in Iran have worked beautifully. We saw so much of eliminations of scientists, of senior leadership, and Khomeini may be hiding. But the point is that the succession plans have been well catered for. And the point that was brought out about the resistance to America is something that will keep them united. So I don't think there'll be any regime change immediately. And as Admiral Shekhar also said, if at all there'll be something, there'll be handshaking between the IRG and the Khomeinis, and they will carry on. Only one point I wanted to add, which is of course not part of the discussion, is the importance of INSTC, and Iran and Chabahar to India, which we can debate some time later. But this is something that has to be borne in mind. So therefore, Iran's friendship is crucial to us. Israel's friendship is crucial, and therefore the balancing is something that will be the challenge for the future. Thank you.
Very well said, Commodore Vasan. We are almost nearing our time. My heartfelt thanks to Admiral Sinha, Major General Soy, Commodore Vasan, Mr. Amod Desai, and Mr. Ankush Bhandari, 5 of our panelists, each bringing a unique angle to this ongoing conflict, war, or civilizational struggle. If we see it from the historical point of view, it is indeed a civilizational struggle. There are tactical moves here and there. I don't think this is going to stop. Most of the people probably have watched WWE, contests. And in certain ways, it is what is called in Indian subcontinent, Nura Kushti. Iran was given an advance warning that there will be a US missile attack on Fardo plan. They evacuated their enriched uranium from that in advance. And apparently President Trump says that Iranians asked him, can they attack their base in Oman? And he said, yes, you can attack one base, and they emptied the base. So not everything is what it appears to be. There are some stage managed things going on for whatever reason, whoever's point of view for Nobel Peace Prize or whatever. But there's an element of bravado and playing to the audience. But this conflict is going to continue. My thanks to our esteemed panelists. My heartfelt thanks to our audience members. But more than that, my thanks to Team CSA, who always rise up to the challenge, make these kind of events happen, and in this case, in 3 days' time.
Yeah, we should take the name. We should take the name.
Mr. Rajiv Verma, Mr.
Yes.
Ripudaman Pachori, who work behind the scenes to make these kind of events happen. Very hardworking people.
Thank you so much for that. Yes.
So very thankful. And with those vote of thanks, we come to the end of this panel discussion. Thank you very much indeed, everyone.
Thank you. Jai Hind.
Jai, sir.
Jai.
Nice
Great
being
to see
here.
you, sir. Great to see you, sir.
Great to see you too. We'll catch up in Delhi.
Yes, I'll meet you. I'll